Welcome to Animal DNA, our extraordinary expedition through the animal kingdom. We'll explore the unique traits and characteristics of animals of all kinds, how species relate to one another, and ways in which they survive and thrive in their diverse environments around the planet. And so our journey begins. Today, we will meet some animals for whom housing never poses an issue. From cunning armadillos and pangolins, to slow but sure-footed snails and land turtles, to colorful ladybugs, and many more, these fascinating animals use their shells as portable homes. We can find various hard shell-like structures in the animal kingdom in both vertebrate and invertebrate groups. The bodies of these animals can be formed by bony or cartilaginous skeletons and can feature various structures that serve as protection and, in some cases, as a locomotive aid as well. For instance, one such structure is the carapace. A carapace is the hard upper shell that can be found on turtles, crustaceans, and arachnids. The look of a carapace can vary depending on whether it appears in vertebrate or invertebrate animals. All vertebrate animals contain bony or cartilaginous skeletons, divided into trunks and limbs. In this case, the carapace is anchored to the animal's spine and rib cage and is an element of its internal skeleton. On the other hand, external skeletons support less weight than endoskeletons of the same size. A primary example of exoskeletons is found among arthropods, in which the exoskeleton forms a shell that protects the internal organs, as can be found on shellfish crustaceans, such as lobsters, prawns, shrimp, crabs, and crayfish. Exoskeletons are mainly made up of chitin, which acquires the character of a natural shell. It hardens due to mineralization from calcium-rich salts. Phylum Mollusca is the second largest animal phylum in the animal kingdom, with over 100,000 species. Being a mollusk means having no bones and no internal skeleton. The soft bodies of mollusks, like clams and oysters, are protected by shells formed from cells that secrete calcium carbonate, which crystallizes on the outside in the form of a calcareous substrate. These shells are a resistant and essential structure that prevents the dissolution of soft organisms in acidic environments, like the ocean. In other words, they protect the mollusks from dissolving in the water. The shells of both terrestrial and marine snails are in one piece, spirally coiled, and usually open to the right side. Bivalves, aptly named for having two valves, possess shells with two symmetrical lateral valves, which are closed by one or two muscles and ligaments, acting as hinges. Some examples of marine bivalves are mussels of the family Mytilioida, oysters of the family Oysterioida, and clams of the family Veneroida. Perhaps among the most enchanting mollusk is the nautilus, a living fossil belonging to the cephalopod group, whose external shell is a highly developed, flat spiral. Animals with limited mobility have had to evolve and develop features to defend themselves from predators and obtain food. For instance, marine snails have developed potent toxins to deter predators. They're ranked as one of the most poisonous animals in the animal kingdom. Poisonous snails can be classified into three different families. Conidiconids, or cone snails, are marine snails that inhabit tropical areas, significantly associated with shallow and warm water coral systems. It's rare to find them in temperate zones, but when they are there, they are found in deep areas. They have striking geometric patterns on their cone-shaped outer shell. Cone snails are nocturnal predators, feeding on small fish, mollusks, and worms. And despite being snails with little movement, they actually have a complex feeding system. They have a hollow harpoon-like tooth that acts as a spear they use to stab and stun their prey. Unlike other mollusks, they usually have a radula in the mouth that is like sandpaper, which scrapes the food. These animals detect prey with their osphradius, an olfactory organ found in mollusks. Once a cone snail zones in on its target, it launches its harpoon-like tooth and releases the neurotoxin, conotoxin. The prey is then drawn into the mouth where it's digested. In addition to the cone snail, the Conidae family contains several other venomous snails, including the textile cone, which inhabits the Indo-Pacific Ocean. This species is dangerous to humans due to its potent venom and ability to kill large prey. The purple cone, one of the most visually striking conids. Its shell is light purple with brown or black bands or dots. The geography cone, also known as the cigar snail. Like the textile cone, the venom of these snails is strong enough to kill a human. Turids are predatory marine snails, which inhabit coastal zones, up to 650 feet deep. They are the largest group of marine gastropods, with more than 4,000 species. They have a venom gland in the radula that contains 2 to 3 teeth. The Atlantic gem turid is a venomous member of this family, which inhabits the Atlantic Ocean. It's light brown, and its shell has complex ornamentations. It feeds on wandering or sedentary annelids, peanut worms, and ribbon worms. The family Terebridae, or auger snails, are marine snails that live in warm tropical waters. They are known as drill snails because of their numerous coils, which are characteristically flattened rather than convex. They use conotoxin, like venom, to capture their prey. All land snails are gastropod mollusks, meaning they belong to the same group as octopuses. It's true, though their class is Gastropoda, which narrows it down to all snails and the so-called slugs. As we mentioned earlier, being a mollusk means having no bones and no internal skeleton. But, as we've already seen with marine snails, land snails are not unprotected. Their most striking physical feature is the spiral-shaped shell they carry on their backs. It is a complex structure composed of calcium carbonate, which protects the soft body and internal organs, including the snail's lung. Unlike aquatic snails, terrestrial snails breathe oxygen from the atmosphere, which passes into a lung. Although they do not have legs, they can move thanks to a muscular foot, which, based on undulatory movements, allows snails to move. Have you ever wondered about the trail of slime left in a snail's wake? This fluid is a mucus that the animal secretes to glide over all sorts of surfaces and maintain its humidity, which is important to its survival. We'll be right back with more Animal DNA. Welcome back to Animal DNA. Let's see if you can answer this trivia question. Which animal is often confused with a pangolin? A, the anteater. B, the armadillo. C, the porcupine. D, the hedgehog. If you answered B, the armadillo, you got it right. Let's learn more about the curiosities and unique characteristics of pangolins. Pangolins are covered with overlapping scales composed of keratin, the same protein found in our nails and hair. These scales are so heavy and large, they make up 1/5 of the pangolin's body weight. Sadly, they are the most trafficked wild animal in the world due to high demand for their scales and claws. Though they have no proven medicinal value, they are frequently used in traditional Chinese medicine to treat a wide range of ailments. There are only 8 species of pangolin, and all of them are at risk of extinction. Temminck's pangolin, or the ground pangolin, lives in South Africa. The light-bellied tree pangolin, Phytagonus tricuspis, inhabits the African rainforest. The long-tailed tree pangolin, Manis tetradactyla, has, as you might be able to guess, a very long tail around 2 to 2.5 feet in length. The Indian pangolin, Manis crassicauda, is native to the Indian subcontinent. There are around 60,000 Chinese tree pangolin, Manis pentadactyla, recently detected in China. However, only about 15,000 still exist in Taiwan. and this species is considered to have already disappeared in Bangladesh. As for the Philippine pangolin, Malayan pangolin, and giant land pangolin, which are the largest of pangolins and can reach over 4 feet long, all are declining in their communities and are in danger of extinction. When threatened, these animals can curl into a ball and be protected by their strong scales. When exposed, the edges of these scales can act as sharp weapons, which serves as a defense against predators. They also tend to curl up when they sleep, so they can rest a little more easy. Pangolins are nocturnal and have poor vision, so they rely heavily on their excellent sense of smell. Most pangolins are terrestrial species that dig burrows for shelter. They have massive claws that function as diggers, so they can hunt underground for nests, termite mounds, and anthills, all good sources of food. And as we've learned, there are also tree pangolins that choose to lodge up in the hollows of trees. Though it's not just the ground and in trees where these animals thrive, they are also surprisingly good swimmers. Pangolins feed on insects with the help of a very long, sticky tongue. Interestingly, they walk on their wrists, not feet, to avoid damaging their large nails. They use their long tails for balance and agility. The Malayan pangolin can even run on its hind legs when threatened by relying on its tail. Now, let's turn our attention to the armadillo. These small mammals can generally live about 20 years in captivity and up to 16 years in the wild. The armadillo's name came from the Spanish explorers who found that it resembled the armor they used in their conquests. There are 21 different species of armadillo worldwide. Its body is composed of rigid plates that create a kind of shell, just like a turtle, but with greater mobility. The neutral colors of armadillos, shades of brown, tan, gray, and black, allow them to blend into their environments and hide from possible predators. Its elongated head is very similar to the anteater. Its ears are long, ovular, pointed at the top, and also covered by small, bony plates that protect them. Like pangolins, their front feet have long claws to dig and make burrows. The giant armadillo is the largest of all existing armadillo species. It can reach a little over 3 feet in length from snout to tail and weigh more than 110 pounds. Even with this size and wide distribution throughout almost all South America, there is little known about this species. Sadly, it too is threatened by the loss of its natural habitat, as well as by hunting and vehicles. Now let's turn to one of the most well-known shelled animals in the world, turtles. The shell of a turtle, whether land, sea, or freshwater, is very distinctive. As mentioned earlier, their shells are a part of their internal skeleton, a unique feature among vertebrates. The carapace of these reptiles acts as an envelope that protects the body's internal organs, allowing the head, front and hind legs, and tail to emerge from the shell. In land tortoises, such as the Mediterranean tortoise, the carapace is always dome-shaped to prevent predators from catching them with their mouths or claws. On the other hand, aquatic turtles, like the loggerhead turtle and the Florida tortoise, have a flattened carapace shape to make them lighter and more hydrodynamic, which enables them to be great swimmers. Now, it's time to fly with a completely different type of shelled creature. A fan favorite. We'll pull out a magnifying glass to inspect these charming insects from the family Cossinellidae, or as they are more commonly known, ladybugs. Ladybugs do not have a real carapace or shell. Rather, their hard casing is made up of thick, transformed wings that protect the true, functional wings underneath. The first pair of shell-like, colorful wings are called the elytra, and they protect the second pair of membranous wings used for flight. When you think of ladybugs, you might think of them as red with black spots, but they can also come in yellow or orange and have dots or stripes, or even a smooth coloration. Like other beetles and butterflies, ladybugs go through complete metamorphosis during their life cycle, meaning they go through 4 stages: egg, larva, pupa, and adult. As for feeding, they are usually carnivorous predators of aphids, mealybugs, cottonbugs, jumping plant lice, and whiteflies. They are essential in agriculture because they act as biological pest controllers, although some can cause crop losses by feeding on plants. We'll be right back with more Animal DNA. Welcome back to Animal DNA. Let's see if you can answer this trivia question. Which of the following statements about snails is not true? A. Snail eggs are eaten in many parts of the world. B. Snails change shells as they grow. C. The average speed of snails is 1 meter per hour. D. Snails have a heart, liver, lung, and kidney. If you answered B, snails change shells as they grow, you're right. Let's continue our journey through the world of animals and their shells. On land, animals like hedgehogs and porcupines have sharp spines rather than shells to keep them safe. Sea urchins, which belong to the class of echinoids and are related to starfish, also possess sharp spines. But unlike the ground-dwelling mammals, their spines are grouped in a spherical form around a calcareous skeleton covered with epidermis, functioning as a kind of shell. Their calcareous skeleton is composed of several plates called ossicles, which are made of calcium carbonate. Their spines and pedicellari act as venomous defense structures. They open and close to ward off potential threats and to obtain prey. They have a hydraulic vascular system composed of canals that handles their essential functions, such as movement, feeding, and defense. They live in association with the soil and feed off passing plankton, kelp, and sometimes dead fish, mussels, or barnacles. Sea urchins can be classified according to their shape, among which their type of symmetry is distinguished. According to this classification, we find regular and irregular sea urchins. Regular sea urchins have hemispherical shapes and pterodile, or 5-shape symmetry. Their spines are large and are divided into primary and secondary categories. Long primary spines generally serve defense functions. Secondary spines, which are smaller, secrete mucus or venom. They always possess Aristotle's lantern, a unique mouth-like organ found only in sea urchins. It is located on the underside of the organism and comprised of 5 large teeth held by muscles, which assists with the fragmentation of food, digging, and gnawing. Irregular sea urchins are flattened on the belly and are known as sea cookies, sea dollars, sea hearts, or sea potatoes. Their symmetry is rare, and they can have different shapes. They are convex at the top with a pinnacle that might not be exactly in the center, precisely because of their lack of exact symmetry. Their spines are much tinier than those of regular sea urchins. They are called miliaria spines and are found in large numbers, almost wholly covering the skeleton. And with that, our journey has come to an end. See you next time on Animal DNA, where we humans decode all the secrets of our friends in the animal kingdom to learn more about them and a little bit more about ourselves, too.